Okay, so this week's guitar lesson is all about using the CAGED system to play a rhythm and a lead and really create a standalone composition. Now this is a little blues composition that you can play by yourself. It sounds great on its own. These are always super popular for that reason because they're little performance pieces you can play for other people, but it's also got the added advantage of a great way to practice. So you're going to be able to see and understand all the pieces that we're going to be playing here. And that's the real advantage. It's not just memorizing notes or positions on the fretboard. The real advantage is making those connections in your mind so that you know what's going on. And that's what this lesson's all about. I'm going to do that over the course of 2 videos. So in this video, we're going to go through the first half of that composition. If you'd like to join us for part 2 and download the tablature, the PDF file, and also access the on-screen tab viewer, which is interactive, you can get all of those extra materials by going to activemelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP578. Okay, let me just mention this guitar. Every time I don't mention a guitar, somebody always starts to ask questions, so hopefully this will clear that up. I have used this in previous lessons, although it's been a while, I think. This is a 1961 Gibson ES-175, formerly owned by Vince Gill. Kind of cool. He sold a few guitars in Nashville several years ago, and this is one that he had up for sale. And I just loved it. It's so cool. I kind of wanted a jazz box guitar, and I thought this was just the perfect. It's cool that Vince owned it. But it's all original. The PAF pickups, which are just killer. Well, actually, it's not all original because I replaced the bridge. The original bridge just didn't intonate right. It's a floating bridge, and I couldn't. No matter where I positioned it, the intonation just seemed off. So I ordered one of these. This is one of those. I think it's called like a Tune-O-Matic or something. It came from Stu Mac, I believe. But anyway, you can intonate each string with this, and it's just great. I've got the original bridge in the case. It's easy to just swap them out if I need to. But that's what it is, a killer guitar, and it's just a lot of fun to play on. And the strings I'm using, by the way, are 11 gauge. People always ask about that. For me, if I'm playing a hollow body guitar like this, 11 gauge strings are kind of perfect because they're somewhere between acoustic and electric-ish. I know that's generalizing, and the guitar itself is somewhere between the two. And so I thought I always kind of consider that the perfect string for this style of guitar. It just feels right. 10 gauge feels a little too thin. It feels like dental floss almost. Okay, so this song that we're going to be playing is in the key of C, and what's really cool about it is there's no open strings. So what that means, why that's cool, is you can play this in any key. So if you want to switch and play this in the key of D, for example, you can just move everything up 2 frets. So it's just very easy to kind of position your hand and play wherever you want. In fact, once you learn this composition and have it under your fingers, I would encourage you to do that. Try doing it in a different key. Why not? All right, so the chords in this are going to be C, F, and G. It's a 1-4-5. And from a structural standpoint, that's all you need to know. C, F, and G. Those are the chords we're going to be playing out of. And we're going to be using different positions to do different things with those 3 chords. That's really all this is. So let's listen to the first part, and then we'll break down what's going on. Okay, so I started off by playing a C chord like this. And I just played the notes of the chord. Now I'm playing a C chord using the A shape. So that's our first little cage position thing, is right here. Just strumming the notes of the chord, just to kind of set the key, I guess. That's all that's for. Now after that, we get into the rhythm, which goes. So let's talk about this rhythm. Now this rhythm is kind of a boogie-woogie shuffle type rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3, and it's different. It's got a swagger to it. That's what a shuffle is, as opposed to 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and ... Right on the beat, no shuffle, no soul. With a shuffle, 1 and 2. Imagine somebody walking across the room shuffling their feet a little bit. It's a little different than like a march. So this is what the bass player would be doing. But I don't have a bass player, so I have to kind of define that rhythm up front. So after I arpeggiated the chord, then I play the bottom part of the chord, and then slide in. I use my ring finger to go to from the 5th fret to the 7th fret. Like that. Now, once I slide up into this spot, what I'm doing, this is how I'm seeing this. I'm still playing a C chord, but I'm now in a different position of that C chord. Now I'm playing a C chord using the G shape from the CAGED system. Let me just demonstrate. Look at this. If I were to play the full chord, it would look like this, which I can't even do. There we go. That's really awkward. Nobody uses a shape like this. That's like G chord in first position, sliding it all the way up and playing it up here, right? But here's how people use this, primarily in two ways. You can play the top part of it like this, or the bottom part of it like this. That's how it's most commonly used. Sometimes people will throw in that sixth string, but really it's like this, two positions, 1 and 2. That's how I see it. So just kind of connect that and marry that G shape to the A shape we were just playing. This is how you start to connect the dots. So that A shape was here, right? This is our C chord using the A shape. Now notice this little triad where my pinky is. Strings 2, 3, and 4. That's a C chord, right? A triad. I can now play that with my index finger, same notes, but now I'm in a new position. See, there's the light bulb. It's going off for somebody. You go, oh, okay. Now I'm playing still a C chord, but I'm in the G position, which means I can do different things now. Now here's where it gets really powerful, cool. Once you get into this G position, you now have easy access to your C major pentatonic scale, pattern 1. Look at this. Ah, okay, another light bulb went off, right? So now you've got C chord using the A shape, slide up into the G position, G shape, still playing a C chord. Now I've got major pentatonic scale, which means I can do major pentatonic scale stuff or licks while I'm in this position. And that's exactly what I did here. So I went. So those notes are just the C major pentatonic scale, pattern 1, but you can see where we're at now. We're in the G position. So we have, we walk it up from the 7th fret on the 5th string, and now we're gonna bar and play strings 4 and 3 on the 5th fret to hit that kind of double stop sound. And then I come up with my ring finger to the 7th fret, 4th string. So now watch this. That's 5th fret, 7, 5, 5. Or 5th fret on the 3rd string, 5, back to the 5th fret. You can already feel the cadence of it just by that one little definition. Now from there I can break out of it. I've defined the rhythm. We kind of have that in our ear. So now I go into the next phrase, which goes like this. Let's look at this. So to play that, now I'm thinking about major pentatonic scale pattern 1 for C, because I'm in that neighborhood, I'm in that position, I'm in the G shape. And what I'm doing to play that is I'm on the 8th fret 3rd string, I use my ring finger for that, and then I'm playing the 5th fret 2nd string. So when you play the two of those, it sounds kind of wonky, it sounds kind of off, right? There's a dissonance thing happening there. And I'll explain why in just a second, but that's the notes, and I hit it twice, so it's 3, 2, 3, 2. There's a string number. And then I came up to the 8th fret 2nd string, and then back to the 5th fret 2nd string. So that's, now we're just back into major pentatonic scale pattern 1. Now, why is that working? Because that note's not in my major pentatonic scale, and it's not, right? That would be the flat 3rd. So this is the 3rd of the chord, of my C chord. This is the flat 3rd. So you can hear how it sounds kind of sad. There's that note on another position. But when you play the flat 3rd with the 3rd, like this, you get a ragtime kind of thing. That happens in ragtime piano all the time. And I hear it in bluegrass. And so I just kind of incorporate that sound into my playing. And the easiest way to find it, or one of the easiest, is in this major pentatonic scale pattern 1. You can come right up here, and then you've got your flat 3rd and your major 3rd right beside each other in that position. Okay? Now we go 8, 5 on the 2nd string, and then we do a quick slide from that flat 3rd we go back into our major pentatonic scale. We go 7, 5, 7 on the 4th string. So we just keep walking it down. We come down to the 5th fret, 4th string, and then watch this. Now you can, that's a cool sounding chord, right? So what I'm doing there, I'm still in my G position, right? Playing a C chord, but in G position. So after this note, 5th fret, 4th string, I come up to the 8th fret, 4th string, and then I put my bar back down on the 5th fret and play strings 3 and 2. And then I go back to that note, and then my pinky hits this 8th fret, 2nd string. So, what is this note? That's not in your major pentatonic scale, and it's not, but what that note is, it's your flat 7. And that is the note that defines the blues probably more than any other note, is that flat 7. So this is your major scale. There's your major 7, flat the 7, and you get that sound. Now you've got like a C7 chord, and that's exactly what this is. That's another voicing for playing a C7 chord, or C7 triad. So, right? And you can tell that 7 chord adds a tension where we need to release that tension. We release it to the 4 chord, and I play an F, and I'm playing it right here in this position. I just love in this G shape here how you have this 7 chord right there. That's a cool one. Another one, just so you know, which we'll use later in this, is up here. There's another flat 7 in this same position. And I'm still playing both of these off of this little bar here. So, now the song goes to the F chord. Now, this is where the CAGED system kicks in, and hopefully this will connect some dots for you. So we're going to an F chord. So the question I always ask, no matter what style of music I'm playing, is where's the nearest F? You don't want to necessarily go to an F that you already know, like one way down here, because that's not efficient. So from here, I have an F right here. Look at that. Minimal movement. In fact, I can keep the bar on that 5th fret. And I can just replace these two strings, strings 2 and 4. And what I'm doing there is I'm playing an F chord using the C shape. When I do that, I think that's how I played it. I just played strings 4 and 2. But that's where it's coming from, is my F chord using the C shape. Now after that, I played an F7 and I went like this. So it's in the same neighborhood there. You can hear the F and then the F7. And all I'm doing for that F7 to play that chord is I'm making this little shape here, which is the same as my C chord in first position. Exactly the same. Think of a C chord in first position, but add your pinky to the 3rd fret, 3rd string. Now you're playing a C7, right? Just imagine moving that shape up to right here, and now you're playing an F7 because this is your F note. That's an F note as well. So I'm just wanting you to connect those things in your head. Okay, there's an F note there, therefore I can get to an F7 chord using that C7 shape here, or an F major chord using the C shape. But when I play that, I usually just play it like this. That's all you need, just the triad, the root, 3rd, and 5th. Okay, so I played the F, then the F7, and then I played this. Now what the heck is that? That sounds kind of cool, but what is it? So we're playing over the 4 chord right now, which is an F, so we're just doing F stuff. So when I came up here and played, that's an F6 and an F9. And some of you are going, okay, cool, got it. And some of you are going, what the heck is that? And how do you find it? Well, going back to the CAGED system and chord shapes, we were just in the C shape, right? For our F major chord, and we did the C7 shape. Well, I'm gonna come up here and play an F chord using the A shape, just so that you can see. I want you to look at these 2 frets, 8th fret and then the 10th fret. Those are where my fingers are, right? Well, now I'll take my hand off and I want you to see the 8th fret, strings 1, 2, and 3, and the 10th fret, strings 1, 2, and 3. Because if I play this, That little triad there represents my F6 chord. I know it's a minor triad, but that's a whole other lesson. Inside of a 6 chord is a minor triad, and that's it. And then I can slide that down 2 frets, and I'm playing an F9. Inside of a 9 chord is another minor triad. So you have, so in my mind, when I played that, all I was picturing was this, my F chord using the A shape, because I knew at the top of that, I've got this little walk down, a little jazzy sounding walk down. And in fact, there's little embellishments that you can play off of that. And actually, I think I worked one of them in, which would be taking my pinky or ring finger and hitting that 10th fret first string off of the F9. So now the song goes back to the C chord, back to the 1 chord. And what I ended up doing was just going back to the C chord using the G shape, since we were just there, and it's in the same sort of general neighborhood. And what I played was the top part of that G shape, right? It's where we do the bar on the 5th fret, strings 4, 3, and 2, and then I've got my pinky on the 8th fret first string. And then I came to this, and that is like my C7 chord. Remember I said there was two ways you could play a C7 in this position? There's one like this, and then there's one up here. That's what this is. So, and then I walked it down, just walking down the major pentatonic scale, pattern 1. And then I played this little country pedal steel bend. So that's strings 2 and 3 on the 5th fret. And then I've got this little staggered shape here where I've got my middle finger on the 6th fret 2nd string and then the 7th fret 3rd string. I do a kind of a half bend there. And then back to this. Now these notes, how I knew to do that harmonized third, was off of this triad. This triad has a really cool passage that gets you from this shape up to this shape. It's C chord using the A shape, or C chord using the G shape, up to the C chord using the E shape, and you've got this little connective tissue that goes between the two. I'll put a lesson up on the screen where I go into more detail about that, but that's where this harmony comes from. Then the song goes to the 5 chord, which we haven't got to yet, which is our G. And so what I did was, I just played out of the G chord here using the E shape. Now I didn't make the full bar, I just played the top 4 strings of that, but that's where it's coming from. And I did that so I can just slide in. It's a little easier than, you don't need to play all 6 strings all the time for that. I mean, even though you could, there's no point, it muddies it even. So I slid into that, hit the first string, and then put my pinky down on the 6th fret 2nd string to play a G7. That's a flat 7 for that G chord. Notice all these flat 7s showing up? That's what is a common characteristic of the blues. If you want to blues up a chord, just play its 7 version. And then following a typical blues format, we go from the 5 chord back to the 4 chord. And you can always take whatever you're doing for your 5 chord and just go down 2 frets and do the same thing for your 4 chord. Maybe you knew that, maybe you didn't know that. But it doesn't matter where you're at, what position, what lick you're doing. You can just, whatever you're doing for the 5 chord, just go down 2 frets this direction, and you can, that'll represent your 4 chord. So we had the 5 chord, I go down 2 frets, and I went, which is the same kind of thing. It's my F chord using the E shape, top 4 strings. But I put my pinky down here. This time it would be on the 4th fret 2nd string. And I just walked it down, 4, 3, and then take it off, which is now behind the 1st fret there. And then I played strings 2 and 3 on the 3rd fret, and do a little hammer-on, a little gospel move. And so after that, we're gonna hit bar strings 2 and 3 on the 1st fret with a hammer-on to the 3rd interval of the chord, which is my 2nd fret 3rd string. So it goes. And this is a must-know, which I talk about all the time in the blues. Off of your E shape, you got this chord and then its 4 chord. So it doesn't matter where you're at and what chord you're playing. You can always do this little pivot move. It sounds great, and it's just a really good way to hold out a chord. That's where that came from. Now after that, the song goes back to the 1 chord. And while we're here in this position, I might as well, then remember the 1 chord is a C. Well, I've got a C right here. That's the first C that we all learned. So after that, I'm just walking up to the 3rd interval of that chord. Open 4th string, 1st fret, 2nd fret on the 4th string. And then I hit the 1st fret, 2nd string. But you can see it's just out of that first position C chord. And then the classic blues turnaround. And all this is, once you connect this to these chord shapes, you'll be able to do this anytime for any chord. But I'm coming up and playing strings 4 and 2 on the 5th fret. But don't just memorize that. Here's what you want to think about. It's 2 notes from the C chord right here using the A shape. Boom, hopefully a light bulb went off. You go, oh yeah, strings 4 and 2. Now I don't need to make that chord, but I can see where it's coming from. And I know that I can walk that down chromatically. Just walk it down step by step. It's 4, 2, 4, 4, 2, 4, 4, 2, 4. Those are the string numbers. And then you come back to the C chord in first position. So it's just a perfect walk down from this shape to this shape. And then the 5 chord, which is our G. And all I did was play a G7. That's just a G major chord. Take your pinky off. So you have that flat 7. And do a hammer on with your middle finger. And then hit the top part of the chord. That's it. That's all I did for that. So you've got that. Isn't that cool? You can use that anywhere. Let's say we're doing it from a D. Right? See how it works anywhere on the fretboard if you connect it to a chord shape. All right, I'm going to wrap up this part 1 video here. I hope you're getting excited about this. I get excited about talking about it because it's such a breakthrough and it's so simple once you can understand the basic concepts of it. There's only 5 shapes, so it seems overwhelming at first, but when you realize, oh wait, it's only 5 shapes. It's not like 500. There's 5 of them. C, A, G, E, and D. And once you get those, and actually of those, there's really 3 main ones, right? The A shape, the E shape, and the C shape are the big ones. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you've got a question about anything, leave a question below. I do read all the comments. And even if you've got a comment just to say, hey, this was awesome, this helped me, I love reading those. And I think it's encouraging when we can kind of share that stuff. All right, we'll see you in part 2 where we'll go over the second half.